Hello my dear students, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video we are going to learn class 9 English chapter All Stories Are Anansi'S Question and Answers. So let's quickly move on to it, but the lesson explanation of this chapter is already uploaded in my channel and you can click the link, go and refer it. Okay, so let's move on to the question and answers, but before that students, if you are viewing my video for the first time, do subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get the notifications of all the upcoming videos. Do watch the video till end and hit the like button if you like it. And do not forget to share with your friends. Okay, students, and there I'll also be sharing the link of Hindi lesson explanation and question answers of chapter 10. So go and click the link and watch the video, subscribe the channel, and take the fullest benefits. Okay, so let's move on to the question answers of this chapter now. The comprehension question, that is C1, read the questions given below and discuss the answers for them with your friends. So there are question answers, let us discuss. First one, who owned the stories in the beginning? So we know the chapter, we have learned it. Answer is Niame, the sky god, owned the stories in the beginning. Right? At first it was owned by Niame, the sky god. Next question. Who wanted to own them later? So who wanted to take the credit of all the stories later on? So the answer is Anansi, the spider, wanted to own them later. Right? We know that Anansi, the spider, it wanted to own all the stories for himself. Moving to next question. What was the price to be paid to own all the stories in the world? So when Anansi wanted to have the stories for himself, he wanted to own it, what price he had to pay? So answer is Moboro the hornets, Onini the python, and Osebo the leopard had to be given to Niami the sky god as the price to own all the stories in the world. Right? We have learned the chapter. We know that there were many characters in this chapter. So these were the three demands which was kept by Niami the sky god in front of Anansi the spider to take all the stories for herself, to own all the stories. And that demand was, the sky god wanted three creatures, that was Moboru, the hornets, the house flies and the flies, and the Onini, the python, the snake, and Osebo, the leopard. Okay, so this was the price to be paid to own all the stories in the world. So let's move on to the next question. Did Anansi agree to pay the price? Answer: yes, Anansi agreed to pay the price. Means yes, Anansi agreed to get all these three things, all these complete all these three demand and own all the stories. Next question. Why did Anansi pour water on himself and over the hornets? So when we read the chapter, we come to know that Anansi had poured the water on himself and also on the hornets. So why did it do so? So the answer is Anansi wanted to make the hornets believe that it was raining. So he poured water on himself and over the hornets. So we have read the chapter. We know that Anansi was cheating the other insects and creatures in order to capture them and lay them before their Niyame, the sky god. So in order to take all the hornets under his confidence, what did he do is he started making them believe that yes, it was raining. So he poured water on himself and then he also poured it over the hornets. Okay. So let's see next question. What did Anansi capture the hornets in? So how did Anansi capture hornets? In which thing did it capture? Did it kept all the hornets in? So answer is Anansi captured the hornets in the gourd by making a small hole in it. Okay, so Anansi captured all the hornets in the gourd. You know, gourd is like a vegetable a bottle god, you say. So some kind of god was there, and he made it a hole into it so that there was an entrance, and from which the all the hornets, the small insects, could go inside. So this is how very trickily he captured all the hornets in a god. Okay. Next question. What dispute did the spider have with his wife? So, what was the confusion, the chaos, the quarrel, or you can say small fight, which was going on between the spider and his wife? Okay, so let's see the answer. Anansi's wife felt that the python Onini was not long and strong, but was weaker and shorter than the bamboo pole, whereas Anansi disagreed with this, and hence he had the dispute with his wife. Okay, so we have seen in the story that Anansi felt that the python Onini was not long and strong. I mean, Anansi's wife. There was a wife of Anansi also, and she did not agree that Python was long and strong. Instead, she thought that Onini, the Python, was weaker and shorter than the bamboo pole which he was holding in the hand, which Anansi was having in his hand at the time. Whereas Anansi disagreed to this. He did not agree with his wife, and hence there was a fight and a dispute with the wife of Anansi and Anansi himself. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. What suggestions did Onini give to find out the truth about his length and strength? Okay, so we see when Anansi was muttering all these things that they had a fight and there is a confusion. So, what suggestion did Onini give himself uh, to find out the truth about his length and strength? So, let us see the answer. Onini asked Anansi to measure him against the length of the bamboo pole to find out the truth about his length. Okay, so what did Anani suggest? He suggests Anansi that let us measure why there should be a confusion. Let us measure against the length of a bamboo pole because he was having a bamboo pole in his hand. He said, I'll just measure laying down beside that pole and we'll get the truth about my length also and the strength also. So this was the suggestion. Okay. So moving to next question. Why did Anansi tie Onini at one end of the pole? So we also see in the chapter that Anansi tied Onini at the one end of the pole. So why was it? So why did he tie Onini? So the answer is Anansi tied Onini at one end of the pole because when Onini stretched at one end, he was getting shorter at the other. He tied Onini so that he wouldn't slip and the correct measure could be made without any mistake. Right? So we have gone to the chapter. We know that Anansi was again cheating Onini here. So when he was measuring in besides the pole, Onini tried to stretch itself so that he can measure properly and he can measure longer than the pole. So when he stretched himself, at one end, he got shorter at the other end. So, because he was slipping and getting shorter, Onini was tied in the one at the one end of the pole by Anansi, so that he would not slip again and again, and there will be the correct measure, and there will be no mistake in the measurement. Okay, so this is how you can frame the sentence that Anansi tied Onini at one end of the pole because when stretched at one end, he was getting shorter and at the other. So, in order to find the correct measure, he tied the onini at one end of the pole. So, you can write the answer. Now, moving to next question. Where and why did Anansi dig a pit? So, where did Anansi dig a pit and why? Answer. Anansi dug a pit in the forest where Osebo the leopard lived as he wanted to trap him. Okay, so we also learn in the chapter that Anansi also dug a pit in the forest near the place where Osebo the leopard lived as he wanted to even trap him because he wanted to give it to the sky god Niame. Okay, so again moving to next question. Why did Anansi bend a tall green tree over a pit? Okay, we also read and come across that there was a green tree, tall green tree, which was bent by Anansi. So why did he do so? So answer is Anansi bent a tall green tree towards the ground over the pit as he wanted to pull out Osebo the leopard from the pit. Okay, we learned that Anansi had bent the green tall tree towards the ground and over the pit as he wanted to pull out Dosebo, the leopard, who was fallen in the pit. He was assuming as if he is going to help the leopard to come out from the pit, so he tried to bend the tall green tree over the pit. Okay. Next question. Why did the sky god offer Anansi all the stories? Okay, we also come to know that Anansi was given all the credit. He was offered all the credit of having the stories. So why? Why did the sky god do so? So answer is Niame, the sky god, offered all the stories to Anansi as he had fulfilled all the demands laid down by the sky god Niame of getting him Moboro the hornets, Onini the python, and Osebo the leopard. Okay, so we see that at the end of the story, the all the three demands which was laid down by Niame the sky god was fulfilled by Anansi. He did all his demands. So the sky god offered all the stories to Anansi. Okay, so let's move on to next question. Who should anyone acknowledge before telling a story? So, who should everyone credit? Like, to whom does the story belongs before telling a story? So, answer is everyone should acknowledge Anansi before telling a tale or story because all the stories are now owned by Anansi after fulfilling all the demands of the sky god. Right? So each one of us and everyone in the world should credit or acknowledge that the story belongs to Anansi before telling a story because all the stories are now owned by Anansi. Like owner of all the stories are is Anansi now. Why? How he became Anansi, the owner? Because he fulfilled all the demands which was laid down by the sky god. So he is the whole and sole owner of all the stories in the world. So everyone should acknowledge Anansi before telling a tale or story. So we say all stories are Anansi's, right? Okay. Moving to next main, we have C2. Answer the following questions, work in pairs. These are a bit long answers, students, so we can remember in points. It's very easy. It's just a summary of the chapter of each. A small incident is being mentioned here. Okay, so let's see the first one. Describe how Anansi captured the hornets for the sky god. Okay, we've already read the chapter. We know that Anansi had captured all the three characters for and he gave it to the sky god Niame. So here we have to write like how did he capture the hornets? How did he cheat them? How did he take them in confidence and captured them and gave it to the sky god? Okay, so let's see the answer. Anansi was clever at cheating the hornets. He made them believe that it was raining and that they needed protection from the rain. Anansi first cut a gourd from a vine and made a small hole in it. He took a large calabash and filled it with water. Then he went to the tree where the hornets lived. Okay, so we saw this that Anansi was a very clever and he was cheating the hornets. Now, what did he do? He made all the hornets believe that it was raining heavily and they needed protection from the rain. How did he make them believe? By dripping all him, by putting the water, pouring the water on himself and also on the hornets. And for this, what did he do? He first cut a small gourd, and he made a hole in it so that they can enter in that. And then he took a large calabash. Calabash is a large dry fruit which can be made in the form of ball. And he filled it with water. And then he went to the tree where really the hornets lived. Okay, so now let's see. He poured some water over himself as though he was dripping. And then he also threw some water over the hornets so that even they all were also dripping, making them feel that as if it was raining. He also poured water on himself, and he said, see, even I'm drenched with the water, with the rainwater, and now even you are not dripping. Then he put the calabash on his head as though to protect himself from a storm, and called out to the hornets and asked them why they are staying here in the rain. Okay, so then again he very trickily took the calabash on his head, and he was assuming that I'm as if I'm protecting myself from the storm. And then he called out the poor hornets and asked them why they were staying in the rain here. So when this was asked, when the hornet said that they had nowhere else to go, he told them to go into the gourd through the small hole. When the last of them had gone in, Anansi plugged the hole with a ball of grass. He took the gourd full of hornets to Niamey, the sky god. Okay, so this is how he tricked all the hornets. When he asked them why you are staying here in the rain, the hornet said that where do we go? We don't have any place to go. We have nowhere else to go. So he told them, okay, come in this gourd, and the small hole which he had made. He showed them to enter from there. And when the last hornet went inside, he plugged the hole. He closed the hole with a ball of grass which he was already having. And then he took the gourd full of hornets and gave it to the Near-made sky god. So this is how he captured all the hornets, how trickily, how cleverly he cheated all the hornets. Okay. So this is what the answer of this question. Let's move on to the next one. Explain how the python got trapped. Okay, now we have to write how python was trapped, how he was treated by Anansi. So let's say quickly. Answer: Anansi cut a long bamboo pole and some strong vines, and then he walked towards Onini's house and started muttering that his wife was stupid, as she was of the opinion that Onini was shorter and weaker, and thus she gave him less respect. Okay, there was dispute between Anansi and his wife over this matter. On hearing this, Onini suggested himself being stretched beside the pole to be measured. Anansi very cleverly tied Onini to the pole to stop slipping, and soon he tied with the vine all around Onini until the python couldn't move, and gave it to the Niame, the sky god. Okay, so how cleverly Anansi has even trapped python. He took a long bamboo pole and he took some strong vines. It's like the branches or the thread, you can say, which are there in the trees, which can be tied. And then he walked towards Unini's house with all the preparation, and he started muttering. Muttering means talking to himself, blabbering something to to themselves. So he muttered by himself, and he said that my wife is stupid. She says that that the python is shorter and weaker, and she gives self-respect, everything, as if he had a big fight in the house, and he was muttering to himself. As such, nothing had happened, but he just wanted to take grab the attention of Onini. He wanted to trap him. So near the place where Onini lived, he went there and he started doing all these actings. Okay, there was a dispute between Anansi and his wife over this matter. So, all as if he had a very great dispute, a fight with Anansi and his wife, he was muttering there. And when all this was heard by Onini, he suggested, like, I'll lay down, I'll stretch myself besides the pole, and you can measure it. Why is there any fight between you and your wife? So, Anansi very cleverly tied Onini to the pole as soon as he started stretching towards the pole, and he said, you are slipping from one end and the measurement is not proper, so I'll tie it from one end. And soon he tied the vine all around Anini until the python couldn't move. So he just was very careful till the python couldn't move. He just kept on tying the vine, and at last, when he was not able to move, he took it and gave it to Niame, the sky god. So this is how he trapped the python very cunningly. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. What method did the spider Kwaku Anansi adopt to get the leopard demanded as a price of ownership of all tales and stories of the world? Okay, so now we have to write, like, what method did the spider adopt to capture the leopard, and he wanted to give that as a prize for ownership to sky god. Okay, So let's see the answer quickly. One day Anansi went to the forest and dug a huge pit where the leopard used to live and walk frequently. He covered the pit with small branches and leaves and put dried grass on it. Okay, so what did Anansi do? He went to the forest, he dug a big, huge pit where the leopard used to usually walk and live. Very frequently, he used to visit that place. And he covered it, he hided it so that it could not be seen by leopard. He hided it with small branches, leaves, and he put the dried grass on it. And Osebo came prowling at night and fell into the pit. Okay, so Osebo was not knowing. He came just loitering, slowly prowling. He came at the night to hunt his prey, and he himself fell into the pit. The next morning, Anansi went to the pit and saw Osebo trapped in the pit. So now he is already trapped. Next morning, Anansi just went to have a look. Now Osebo asked for the help to Anansi, and in return for his help, Anansi took a promise from Osebo that he will not harm or kill him. So next morning when Anansi went there, he saw the Osebo being fallen in the pit. So Osebo also started asking help to Anansi, like, please help me to come out. So Anansi first he took a promise that you promise me that you will not harm or kill me when you will come out. Again, this was a trick which was played by Anansi. Okay. So Osebo agreed to his promise and got the help from Anansi. He bent a tall tree towards the ground so that its top was over the pit and tied a rope to the tree and dropped the other end of it into the pit and asked the Osebo to tie it to his tail. So, very trickingly, he took the promise, and after taking the promise, when Osebo agreed, he tied a rope in the branch of a tree, and he bent and brought the tree near the pit, over the pit, and put the next end of the rope in the pit, and told the Osebo to tie it in its tail properly. And when he had tied it, Anansi cut the rope. The tree straightened up, pulling Osebo out of the pit, and he hung in the air upside down. Anansi killed him with his weapon and took his body to Niame, the sky god. Okay, so very cunningly, when he tied the rope in the tail, Osebo, he tied his tail with the rope. He cut the rope. Anansi cut the rope, and the tree got straightened again. From the pit, Osebo was out, but he was now hanging in the air upside down on the treetop branch. Now Anansi killed him with his weapon and took the body to Niame, the sky god. So this is how he adopted various steps to capture leopard and fulfill his prize for having the ownership of all the tales and stories in the world. Okay, so let's move on to the last question of this chapter. Read the following statement carefully and discuss the points and include in your justification. You have a point? With wisdom and knowledge, one can achieve the impossible. Justify the statement with reference to Kwaku Anansi, the spider. Okay, so we have to justify this statement, how it is referring or how it is related to this chapter. So let us see. Anansi, who wanted to buy all the stories from the sky god, was already a storyteller. He used the story to cheat all of his victims. Anansi used his imagination to weave convincing stories, and his insight made it possible for him to look into the weaknesses of the hornets, the python, and the leopard to catch them. Okay, we see here that Anansi, because it wanted to buy all the credit of stories for himself, wanted to own the stories from Sky God, and he was already a storyteller, very good storyteller. And we see that he used various stories. He trapped every victim of his in the form of telling stories, and this is how he cheated. This is how Anansi cheated and captured all the victims. Okay, Anansi used his imagination to weave convincing stories. He used to imagine and make many convincing stories so that other can believe it, and then he made it possible for him to look into the weakness. With that insight, he had the knowledge, and he, with that wisdom, he saw the weakness of all his victims, and then that is how he caught them. Even the hornets, the python, and the leopard. All of these three victims' weakness was known by the Anansi first. Okay, then when Anansi the spider wanted to be the owner of all the stories in the world, he went to Niamey, the sky god, to purchase the stories. Niamey said that he was willing to tell the stories, to sell the stories, but the price was very high. So when Anansi wanted to have all the ownership for the stories, he went to Niamey, the sky god, and he asked him, but there was a very high price put in by Niamey, the sky god. So Niamey also added that even the rich and powerful families were not able to pay the price. He also said that even the rich families and the powerful families were not able to pay the price what I had asked. Then the sky god asked three things as a price. He said Moboro the hornets, Onini the python, and Osebo the leopard. So Anansi agreed, okay, I'll do it. Even though the powerful and the rich families were not able to do it, I'm going to do. He agreed. Anansi agreed to it. Then, though he did not have the physical strength to capture them, he used his wisdom and knowledge and achieved the impossible. Okay, so though even he was not having so much of physical strength, because the spider, Anansi was a spider, he was not physically strong, but with the help of his wisdom and knowledge, the knowledge he had, he achieved even what was impossible for him. Right? He made the hornets get into the god, tied the python to the pole, and he tied the leopard to the tree using his wisdom and knowledge. So, whatever things he has followed here, whatever steps he had followed, however he has trapped the victims, he has used his wisdom and knowledge here. Thus, Anansi, though physically not as strong as his opponents, could achieve what others were not able to. So here we see all the three victims were more physically stronger than Anansi, but even then he achieved what others were not able to do by using his knowledge and wisdom. Thus, we see that the power of the brain is stronger than the strength of the brawn. Okay, thus we can conclude that knowledge is more powerful than the physical strength. That is how it's related. With wisdom and knowledge, one can achieve the impossible. Okay, students, with this, we conclude the question and answer session of this chapter. I hope all the answers are clear to you. It was helpful and informative. Thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, do hit the like button and do not forget to share with your friends. We'll be back soon with more such videos. Thank you.